On my way back home, the urge to call her was overwhelming. I wanted to hear her voice, to bridge the abyss between us with the comfort of her laughter. I longed to see her again, to feel her presence once more. In my mind, I traced the gentle curve of her breast, my fingertips brushing against her soft skin, a sacred beauty I held in my imagination, one that felt both fleeting and eternal in my longing. The encounter was layered with complexity, a mixture of emotions that I knew wasn't just lost. It was first love, pure and undeniable. But even the lust I felt was grounded entirely in love. Let me tell you something, language is incomplete. We cannot fully express the depth of feelings. Instead, we often use physical acts, whether it's a squeezing hug, a playful bite, or even a more intense form of connection, to be manifest what words fail to convey. These gestures may appear like lost, but beneath the surface, they are anchored in emotion rooted in love. And you know when this happens? When your body can no longer contain the weight of your feelings, whether it's sadness, joy, or love, it seeks expression through actions. Extreme emotions tend to spill out, whether in hysterical laughter, sudden cries, intense shouts, or even in silence. When it comes to love, the body expresses itself through a bite in the cheek, a tight hug, or even something more profound. These aren't just actions, they are manifestations of raw feeling, an overflow that escaped the limits of the physical body. She was the one for me. I felt it deep within. Over the years, with enough reflection and critical thinking, I've learned to understand people. I know myself, and I can read others with clarity. People, I believe, are much like colors. Blue is beautiful, so is red, yellow, and even black. Every color has its vibrance and charm, yet not all colors blend together seamlessly. People are the same. It's not about being good or bad. It's about compatibility, about harmony. If you ask me, I would never call anyone a bad person. There are only incompatible people, relationships strained by a lack of balance. Each individual has their strength, which might appear as flaws to someone else. For instance, I'm drawn to women who are confident, a little independent, perhaps strong enough to stand firmly on their own. But these traits, which I find attractive, might be unappealing to another person who prefers someone more dependent or meek. It's all about compatibility. And I was sure of one thing, we were exactly that, compatible, perfectly attuned to one another. I know myself, and I know how to read people. Divorce, breakups, being left at the altar, constant fighting, emotional distance, coldness, infidelity, cheating, physical or emotional abuse, trust issues, unmet expectations, lack of respect or boundaries, separation or ghosting. These are words, images, and scenarios that come to mind whenever people discuss relationships. Why? Because so often we aren't good partner ourselves, and in return we don't find suitable partners. Many people would conclude from their experiences that marriage and romantic relationships are terrible, and then they opt to avoid them entirely. But for social creatures like you and me, loneliness and emotional isolation aren't choices we can make easily. Deep down, our instincts drive us to seek connection, to have someone beside us. If you ask me personally, the best option, or at least the safest, is to focus on becoming fully independent first. Learn how to live completely on your own. Learn to rely solely on yourself. That way, you can avoid letting another person's toxic behavior or attachment become the actual heel of your life. Relationships, whether fueled by love or emotional dependence, can often be a vulnerability, a weakness, or even a distraction. If we are brutally strict about it, I'd argue that the concept of being a couple is a psychological trap, an effective fallacy carried out by societal norms and mental boundaries imposed upon us. The very idea of coupling and even its mathematical symmetry traps people in the notion that they must pair up to feel fulfilled. That being said, I'm not here to revolutionize human collective behavior. There is enough complexity to that which would require several other videos. Instead, I want to focus on your instincts, on what you've accepted, and perhaps on how to navigate relationships wisely. This video is about not wasting your life on the wrong person, a person who isn't your soulmate. In both Western and Eastern cultures, there is a common idea. You don't truly know someone until you've lived with them. Love is a gamble. The stars must align for a life to succeed. If you believe that relationships, or even soulmates, are purely products of luck, then I suggest watching this video until the end. I'm going to share how to identify the right soulmate, and equally important, how to avoid wasting your life and energy in someone who isn't the one. Now, finding your soulmate, or perhaps being lucky enough to encounter them, might indeed rely partly on chance. That could be true. However, there are 2 points we need to keep in mind about luck. Number 1, luck doesn't exist in a vacuum. Luck occurs when you're in the right place, the best situation, under optimal conditions, and the right time. Without these variables, luck can simply slip away. If luck doesn't bring you a soulmate, there is still value in minimizing heartbreak and avoiding the dramatic, toxic interactions people commonly face today. Here's the truth. You cannot control what happens outside of you. You can't control the random people you encounter in the street or cross paths with day to day, but you can control one thing, and that is yourself. Learning how to walk away, when to stay, and how far to take something with someone. These are decisions within your grasp. So if you've never met a perfect person, that's not your fault. But choosing to stay with the wrong person, that unfortunately completely is your fault. It's important to focus on the aspects of life you can control, the inner world you can build for yourself, and leave the rest to unfold outside your sphere of influence. The more you master self-control, the better you'll navigate relationships. And while doing this, there is one more thing to keep in mind. Learn not to nag, blame, or dwell on things beyond your reach. There will always exist elements of life you don't know or can't predict. Don't let yourself spiral into self-condemnation over things you were unaware of or unable to change. You know what? We're constantly surrounded by signs. It's almost as if the world operates entirely in them. Everything around us is a signal, if only we take the time to notice. For instance, think about going on a first date with someone. The way they behave or the things they talk about can reveal more than just surface level conversation. Imagine this. You're having dinner and the girl starts talking about the financial struggles she's currently facing. Maybe she mentions not being able to pay her bills. It's more than idle chit-chat. It's a sign, a potential clue that she may ask you for money later that day or soon after, because the first date isn't the time to share monetary concerns unless it's leading to something. You see, catching these signs is essential. They're not limited to words. Sometimes signs are subtle, layered beneath actions, tone, or even silence. Spotting these signals requires sharp observation and ability signs are everywhere. You just need to train your mind to recognize them for what they truly mean. Either you are naturally perceptive or you actively develop your ability to decode them. Now let's talk about semiotics, or the study of signs. In advertising and marketing, semiotics plays a powerful role, offering rich examples of how signs communicate beyond their obvious function. Here's a simple example. What's the basic purpose of a wristwatch? To tell time. But imagine someone wearing a Rolex. That watch is not just telling time, it's also sending a message. It signals wealth. It connotes prestige. In a business meeting, a Rolex might even suggest that its owner is both rich and has a thriving, successful enterprise. Let me give you another example. This time, about clothing. Say you prefer casual wear all the time. What does that signal? Number 1, you prioritize comfort over what others think about your appearance. Number 2, you're likely easygoing. 3, you might get along with people more easily. 4, you form friendships faster. 5, you come across as open to conversations. And the list goes on. On the other hand, someone who consistently wears formal attire is signaling something entirely different. Formal clothing suggests a level of seriousness, perhaps even a desire to impress. Social image matters to them. They care about conventional norms and how they are perceived. Signs are truly everywhere. It's just a matter of spotting them, analyzing them, and deciphering their meaning. Even body language, the way someone holds themselves, their posture, their facial expressions can reveal more than words ever could. But as useful as recognizing these signs can be, misunderstanding them can lead to bad decisions or misunderstandings. That's why it's crucial to be careful and always consider multiple possibilities. In deciphering signs, keep these concepts in mind: signals, signified meaning, the signifier, connotations, and denotations. You don't have to memorize the academic jargon or get lost in the complexity. Simply practice identifying and interpreting signs in your daily life. Test your observations, see how they play out, and refine your understanding as you go. For example, if someone says to you, "I don't feel okay," without offering additional details, don't stop at the literal meaning of their words. Instead, consider their tone, their posture, the situation they are in, and your relationship with them. From there, carry a list of possible reasons for their unease and analyze each possibility within the real context. Testing your theories will help you learn. In a future video, I will dive deeper into the techniques of decoding signs and their meanings. For now, just understand how powerful this skill can be, not just to navigate life or careers, but also to make better decisions when it comes to relationships. If you can master reading the signs, you will be better equipped to choose the right partner, the one great soulmate, and avoid unnecessary heartbreak. That was how I came to meet and recognize my soulmate, Sophia. Sophia was 31, an age that struck the perfect balance for me. Old enough to have outgrown the unnecessary dramas a younger, immature girl might bring into a relationship, yet still young enough to carry the spark and motivation needed to embark on a love journey, full of passion, energy, and depth. The first time I saw her was in a mountain. Her simplicity was what captured me right away. She wasn't wearing any rings, watches, or accessories, nothing flashy or embellished. Just trekking pants, a jacket, and an aura of quiet elegance. Her outfit reflected minimalism, simple, practical, comfortable, and chic. It wasn't attention-seeking in any way. There was no silent declaration yelling, "Hey, look at me." When someone dresses like this, it's a sign, a window into their inner world. For me, her style communicated confidence, ease, and authenticity. A person in these clothes doesn't rely on external validation, nor do they crave constant attention. It points to an inner strength, a rich internal world sufficient in itself. There were no shiny colors, no bold or eccentric styles, just a natural harmony that perfectly suited her. Now don't misunderstand. Wearing bright colors or fashionable attire doesn't make someone incompatible for others. But for me, Sophia's simplicity carried specific meanings that resonated with my values. It signaled someone with whom I wouldn't have to make exhausting efforts to surprise or please. Her happiness would come from the little things that mattered. Her simplicity felt effortless and real, and that spoke volumes to me. Her minimal approach to clothing was my first impression of her, and from it, I learned a lot. To summarize, her simple look suggested she was friendly and easygoing, someone who wouldn't demand attention 24/7 or expect extravagant gestures to be happy. She was honest and direct. At the same time, her cleanliness and neatness reflected attention to detail, without crossing into carelessness or messiness disguised as casual. I didn't see any tattoos either, something that aligned well with my personal preferences. As I said, she didn't need to display herself boldly or loudly to stand out. It brings to mind King Lear and one of the most memorable lines in literature when the King of France remarks in Act 1, Scene 1 of Shakespeare's play, "She is herself a dowry." In the scene, Cordiella, the youngest daughter, refuses to flatter King Lear with elaborate expressions of love, speaking simply and truthfully. Lear, angered by her honesty, disinherits her, saying she will have no dowry, and yet the King of France recognizes her value, declaring that her simplicity and authenticity are worth more than any material wealth. Sophia reminded me of this. She was herself a dowry. She didn't need to put on a display, nor did she need anything extra to shine. The cap she wore, her swinging long hair, scented faintly by the mountain air, those small details were more than enough to leave an impression. Because here's the truth: clothing, accessories, hairstyles, even shoes, they're all signs. All of them convey deeper meanings if you were tuned in enough to notice. Deciphering these signs, however, begins with understanding yourself. That's the key. The next thing I observed was her face, its mimicry and expression. She wasn't frowning, angry, or hostile. Her features were relaxed, serene, and pleasant. This told me she wasn't someone who carried anger or resentment with her, a girl prone to constant arguments or fights. That was an important sign for me. A partner with a face that radiates positivity is a partner who naturally lifts your mood. A girl who nags, frowns, and grows angry all the time creates the impression of underlying discord. But Sophia's face was a mirror of calmness. It suggested not just a lack of anger, but a sense of balance, honesty, and peace. Her expressions left a positive vibe on me, and frankly, that's more than enough. Picking up the signs, I knew she wouldn't be the type to act violently, to spark unnecessary conflicts, or to sow chaos in a relationship. When you meet a woman like that, you know she's the type of wife you'd never want to be away from, but only if you deserve her. And believe me, men often fail to appreciate women like this, choosing instead to cheat and betray them. It's a tragedy, but a common one. Impulsivity and thrill-seeking behavior, sensation-seeking personality traits, existential boredom. I'm not sure which it is, but some people love drama. I possess these traits as well, which might be part of one of my many psychological issues I struggle with. But I've noticed that if everything in a relationship is going smoothly, I always have a craving for fights and conflicts. I've seen this pattern in my career and in my relationships. When things are going too well, I get bored. Perhaps it's due to existential boredom, a sense of unease at the perceived meaninglessness of life. I've changed my careers multiple times because I have a great talent for learning and becoming a professional at different jobs. A normal person might need 5 years to become a product manager or anything else, but I can do it in less than 5 months. Now I have experience in several careers and can work as a product manager, a project manager, a digital marketing manager, or even a trainer and teacher of anything I have knowledge of. When it comes to relationships, I am the same. When things go smoothly, I cannot tolerate it, and I crave drama and fights. Let me give you an example. I had a girlfriend named Sharina, and she was great. When everything was perfect between us, I would intentionally text her as if I were texting another girlfriend, as if I was cheating on her, to create drama for both of us. I've worked as a project manager, and as long as there are problems and challenges, I'm really engaged. But as soon as I settle things within 3 to 6 months, and it's time to enjoy the fruit of my hard work, I can't tolerate it. I change workplaces as soon as there are no challenges. By all means, I hate plateaus. Once I was a project manager with many deadlines missed and tasks undone for over 2 years. In about 4 months, I fixed everything and got everything back on track. As soon as everything was back on track and I didn't face any serious challenges, I resigned and left that workplace. The CEO wanted me to stay, and what I told him was, "Bro, I'm bored. There is nothing for me to do here, and you don't need a project manager, so don't pay me for nothing." He told me, "Not every business, it's my money, I want to pay you for nothing, just for being available, and I will pay you." But I left anyway. But Sophia is different. She's the one. I've told you before, genes are terrible. Before a child comes into the world, bad genes will be transferred to the next generation. My grandfather, to a great extent, was the same. He couldn't work in a company and change the companies he was working for several times a year. This is what happens. If there are bad genes, they will undoubtedly be transferred to the next generation. Keep this in mind before you make babies. So if there are bad genes in your family, don't make babies. They are the victims of your genes. So cut the bad genes and put an end to the lame 6th generation. Of course, this is the last bad gene transferred to me that I want to eliminate, and I have to fight against it. BTW, I turned my bad habit of getting bored easily into a positive by using it as motivation to learn new skills, change careers quickly, and advance professionally, achieving higher salaries and growth in a short time. People say, don't judge a book by its cover. Yes, that's true, but analyzing and reading is far different from judging. Whether you believe it or not, we have face reading as well. But let me tell you something. Have you ever watched videos where lab experiments or dangerous stunts are performed, and before the video starts, they warn you not to attempt these activities at home? These disclaimers are meant to emphasize the risks involved and ensure viewers understand that the actions shown could be hazardous if replicated outside a controlled environment. Most of the things I share with you in my videos are like that, so do not try this at home. The stunts in this video are performed by professionals or under controlled conditions. Please do not attempt them on your own. Through reading her face, I could tell that she wasn't a drama queen. At the same time, she is congenial and cooperative. I could see all of this in her face within the first 5 minutes of seeing her in the mountains. All women are good in the first days, and then they show their true selves. So you need to be able to read their faces before getting trapped in their bait. Some women can be likened to a python snake in their approach to relationships. Initially, they wrap themselves around their victim, not with aggression, but with seemingly gentle, affectionate touch. Much like a python, they coil around their prey slowly and carefully, creating the illusion of safety and love. At first, the embrace feels warm, even comforting, and then man believes he's being held out of pure affection. Everything appears calm, harmonious, and ideal. But gradually, the pressure begins to build. The metaphorical coils tighten so imperceptibly that the victim notices nothing at first. It still feels like love, intimacy, and connection, a bond meant to protect and nurture. The slow nurture of this process is the key to its devastating effect, because the tightening happens so gradually, the man remains unaware he's being trapped, suffocated emotionally. By the time he starts to sense the shift, it's already too late. What began as gentle affection has transformed into an unshakable grip, leaving him unable to escape. Just as a python never strikes without warning, women of this nature don't reveal their true tendencies all at once. Their approach is deliberate and calculated, a slow unveiling masked by tenderness and the illusion of unconditional care. The victim's realization occurs only when the figurative grip tightens completely and what seemed like love becomes an emotional death sentence. However, Sophia was far from being a python. It was clear in every detail of her demeanor, from her presence to the way her face radiated sincerity. There wasn't a trace of manipulation in her gestures or postures. This brings me to an important observation about human nature. True strength lies in choosing honesty when deception is an option. It's easy to be honest when you lack the intelligence, cunning, or ability to manipulate others. That's not virtue, that's weakness. True merit comes from knowing how to deceive, how to manipulate circumstances, or craft lies, and consciously choosing not to do so. This rare combination of power and restraint separates pretenders from the truly virtuous. A person who possesses the capability to exploit others but makes the deliberate choice to act with integrity demonstrates a higher, more refined form of humanity. It's wisdom and morality in action. And Sophia exemplified this beautifully. She had both intelligence and the ability to deceive if she chose, but her virtue lay in restraint and honesty. Next, I paid close attention to her mimicry, gesture, and posture. These subtle physical signs speak volumes about a person's inner psychological state. If a woman or man has unnatural habits like rolling their eyes too often while talking or displaying fidgety, erratic hand movements, it's a sign that something deeper and potentially problematic lies beneath her behavior. It's a nuance most people overlook. For me, when the smallest unnatural hand movements, exaggerated postures, or quirks in gestures are red flags. They reveal hints of psychological imbalance. Such habits often signal future conflicts that may take months or years to surface fully. But with Sophia, everything about her gestures and posture felt predictable and balanced. There was no drama or movements, no signs of hidden turbulence, a significant indicator that she wasn't carrying unresolved emotional baggage. Now, I know that some people might accuse me of being judgmental for analyzing these traits, and perhaps you're right. But let me clarify. This isn't about superficial judgment. It's about gathering signs, reading people, and deciphering what lies beneath their surface. If you want to avoid traps or suffering down the line, you have to read these signs early before getting too involved. Take this advice however you see fit, either as wisdom or offense. But what I share with you has taken years of experience to learn. These signs aren't an immediate cause of harm by themselves. They are warnings of what may come later. Rolling eyes or clumsy hand movements won't directly harm anyone, but they are symptoms. These habits are like the tip of an iceberg, indicating something much deeper beneath the surface. You won't see the full extent of those underlying issues until 6, 8, or 9 months have passed, by which time it's often too late to reverse the consequences of a bad connection. The next aspect to focus on was her voice, the tone, intonation, and delivery. The way someone speaks reflects not only their confidence, but often their subconscious emotional patterns. If there is anything unnatural or exaggerated in a person's speech, not disabilities like stuttering, but behaviors that come across in a way that's odd or grating, it's usually a sign of trouble. Now, I'm not criticizing individuality. People are different, and how they speak reflects their uniqueness. But certain flaws in tone, cadence, or delivery can indicate deeper behavioral problems. These nuances may seem small and insignificant, but they often foreshadow emotional tendencies, unhealthy coping mechanisms, or instability that will emerge after months of interaction. Sophia showed none of these warning signs. Her voice was calm, her cadence natural, and her delivery free of excess awkwardness or tension. These subtle indicators reassured me further that she was serene and balanced, a rare blend of emotional stability and intelligence. Ultimately, what I share with you here is years of hard-earned knowledge, condensed into a simple framework. The signs matter, and each one carries meaning. Ignore them at your own risk. People often push aside these warnings in relationships because they fear loneliness or desperately want validation. But if you stop to analyze personality through these subtle signs, gesture, mimicry, posture, voice, you can avoid entangling yourself with the wrong person. It's not about avoiding people's flaws, but understanding how those flaws connect with your own personality and life goals. With Sophia, the signs were clear from the beginning. She wasn't hiding behind any false pretenses, nor did she exhibit behaviors that took months to decipher. Her honesty, balance, and integrity spoke loud and clear from the start. Before all the observations I've mentioned about Sophia, there was the undeniable first-sight attraction, something raw and instinctual. For me, it was her curves, the slick flow of her long hair, and then, as I drew closer, her scent, which captivated me on another level. Let's be honest, for men, the initial attraction is almost always sexual by nature. It's instinct, it's primal, the way we're wired. The first step in forming a connection is based on this instinct, rooted deeply in the evolutionary framework we've inherited. However, it's after the instinct that human logic must come into play. Instinct is something you're born with, but logic is something you develop, refine, and practice. The flaw for many is that they get stuck solely in their instincts, chasing physical attraction and ignoring the critical steps that enable a deeper and more meaningful relationship. Even those who believe they're using logic often fall victim to affective fallacy, mistaking their surface emotions for rational reasoning. This is in part why so many people fail in relationships. They prioritize physical attraction above all else, without realizing the consequences of neglecting deeper compatibility. When I met Sophia in the mountains for the first time, I wish I could hear what she was talking about. The topics a person discusses, especially in moments when they aren't consciously filtering their thoughts, reveal a great deal about who they are. Conversations reflect concerns, passions, interests, and even subtle fears. Knowing the depth of someone's thought is essential in deciding whether they could make a great partner. Here's the truth. The conversations people have when they are not talking to you matter more than the ones they have when they are aware you are listening. When someone talks to you directly, they often consciously framing their words, shaping their ideas, and sometimes even fabricating responses. They know you're listening, and that awareness alters how they speak. But when you hear someone conversing naturally with others, that's when the real concern, philosophies, and perspectives shine through. If you directly ask someone things like, "What are your concerns?" or "What are your priorities in life?" you won't get a pure, truthful answer. Even if their responses aren't outright lies, they are most likely fabricated to fit an image to fit the expectations they assume you have. This is why your direct questioning often fails, producing answers that are more about what the other person thinks you want to hear rather than their reality. It's no different in marketing surveys. Companies often ask questions like, "Do you like our product?" or "What do you think about the service?" The responses are rarely genuine because of inherent biases like social desirability bias, which compel people to say what sounds most acceptable or polite, obscuring their real thoughts. Instead, successful marketers rely on indirect probing and behavioral observations to reveal the truth. Relationships work the same way. Don't ask someone what their concerns or philosophies are. Watch what they say and care about in their daily lives. If you rely solely on direct answers, it's better to assume the responses are lies, or at least pieces of truth wrapped in unpredictability. To truly understand someone, you must take the time to observe their thoughts indirectly through their conversations, choices, and spontaneous remarks, not via direct questioning. The next essential step in understanding someone is examining the people they surround themselves with, their close friends. This can reveal incredible insight into who they are. People naturally gravitate toward those who share their values, personality traits, or lifestyles. Friendship is often based in shared similarities, mutual understanding, or common experiences. These are what establish intimacy and connection. Spend time with your friends and pay attention. If the dynamic feels natural and enjoyable for you, if you can communicate freely with them and feel comfortable being your true self, that's a promising sign. But if being around their close friends feels awkward, forced, or alienating, it's worth reconsidering. If you find yourself disliking their inner circle, that often indicates there is a deeper incompatibility with the person you are evaluating. What people talk about with their friends often reveals hidden personal values. It indirectly tells you what they prioritize, enjoy, or are concerned with. Understanding their relationship helps you see beyond their surface personality. When Sophia invited me to her best friend's birthday gathering after the first few months we'd known each other, I saw a clear confirmation of what I already believed about her. It wasn't a loud party, it was a calm and intimate gathering filled with meaningful conversations. Her three best friends were present. I spent hours talking not only with Sophia but also with her friends, and I never felt time pass. This was incredibly valuable, not just because I could talk freely with Sophia, but because her friends made me feel equally comfortable. Don't misunderstand me, I never had any intention of hitting on her friends. My focus was entirely on understanding Sophia and confirming that she was truly the one for me. Observing her close relationship revealed more about her character than anything else possibly could. Now, the most important thing when evaluating someone for a potential relationship is understanding their goals, what motivates them, what they work toward, and whether they are consistent in those pursuits. Never ask someone directly about their goals or milestones. If you do, you will likely get vague answers, blending dreams and plans, because most people can't distinguish between the two. They might say they have a plan, but it's often just an idea floating in their mind, a wish without clear steps or grounded action. Here's the key difference. Plans require consistent effort, measurable progress, and motivation, while dreams are more abstract and often lack follow-through. Dreams might inspire occasional bursts of action, but they are inconsistent and fleeting. Plans, on the other hand, reflect commitment and decision-making. Rather than asking Sophia about her plans, I took the time to observe her daily life. I saw her consistency and dedication in the things she did, rather than relying on abstract promises she might make when directly questioned. This gave me a clearer picture of not just what she wanted, but whether she had the drive and discipline to achieve it. Sophia was a UI/UX designer working for a startup that was developing a blockchain-based application, something like a D-app, a decentralized app. Decentralization is a concept I'll have to explore in depth another day. But let me say this, The future of the world will be shaped by decentralization, whether governments like it or not. It's not a possibility, it's an inevitability. Much like Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, decentralization represents a transformation that no centralized authority can fully stop. They may try to control it, as they have attempted with cryptocurrencies, but the core idea behind decentralization will eventually empower attempts to suppress it. This paradigm shift will be as significant and transformative as artificial intelligence. While AI is redefining how we create and interact with technology, decentralization will disrupt and revolutionize our systems, governments, economies, and societies. It's a game-changing concept with universal implications no one can yet fully comprehend. Now coming back to Sophia, she wasn't like any other woman I'd ever met. Sophia was incredibly smart, focused, and driven. She had real plans for her life, and not just abstract, idealistic dreams of what she wanted to achieve. She knew what she wanted, where she stood, and where she was heading. Her lifestyle reflected this clarity and balance. She worked hard, maintained her health by regularly exercising to stay fit, and made time daily to learn new skills and stay updated in evolving methods in her field. She read books, watched meaningful movies, and achieved an impressive work-life balance. Sophia had invested deeply in herself long before I entered the picture. It was clear that Sophia had taken the time to work on herself just like I had done for myself. She had spent years understanding who she was, unearthed her strengths and limitations, and aligned her actions with a clear vision for the life she wanted to build. This kind of self-awareness and personal effort is rare. Usually in conversations about women achieving success, it's often framed as a response to historical suppression, a resistance against the biases of a masculine-dominated world. Achievements are celebrated not necessarily for the substance of the results, but as victories against oppression. Yet for Sophia, it was different. Her journey wasn't about reaction. It was about authentic. All of it genuinely real. Sophia's success came from a place of authenticity, not to prove anything to anyone, but to exist powerfully as herself. The rawness, the honesty made her incomparable to anyone else I'd ever known. How to choose the right partner. Choosing the right partner is one of the most significant decisions you will ever make. It's not just about feeling or attraction, it's about compatibility, values, and the subtle signs that reveal their true self. First and foremost, pay attention to emotional compatibility. Compatibility matters far more than labeling someone as good or bad. Ask yourself, do they balance you emotionally? Do they feel calm and harmonious in their presence? Avoid partners who are overly dramatic or manipulative, as this behavior often leads to emotional exhaustion. Next, observe how they interact casually, especially with others. What do they talk about when they speak with friends or acquaintances, not you? Their casual conversations reflect their true priorities, values, and passions. Here's the key. Never ask direct questions like, "What are your concerns?" or "What are your plans?" These often lead to fabricated responses because of social desirability bias. Instead, observe their behavior and listen to the topics they bring up naturally. Body language. Body language, posture, and appearance tell you more than words ever will. What do they wear? Do they dress simply, confidently, or with an excessive attempt to grab attention? Notice their gestures and habits. Are there unnatural movements like exaggerated hand gestures or eye rolling? These signs often point to psychological issues. From the way they present themselves, you will understand whether they are calm, honest, and emotionally stable. I will share a quick personal story to illustrate this. When I met Sophia, my soulmate, it wasn't her words that first caught my attention. It was her simplicity, a clean, minimal outfit that said, "I don't need to prove anything to anyone." Her trekking pants and jacket didn't shout for attention, but they signaled confidence, ease, and independence. She didn't try to make an impression with flashy clothing, but her simplicity spoke volumes. Little did I know these signs were aligned with her personality. She was easygoing, direct, and didn't demand constant validation. But let me warn you, and this is key. Never assume simplicity guarantees compatibility for everyone. What matters is how their outward signs align with your own needs and values. For me, Sophia's simplicity was meaningful and effortless match for my personality. Another vital sign to consider, their facial expressions. Are they frowning or angry? Does their face leave a positive impression? These are often early indicators of their emotional temperament. For instance, Sophia's face was calm, honest, and gentle. She wasn't the type to start unnecessary conflicts or carry negativity into a relationship. And this brings us to another important point. Beware of manipulative behaviors. Manipulation is often gradual, like the Python analogy. Some people start a relationship by wrapping you in care and tenderness that feels comforting. But slowly, the grip tightens in a way you don't notice, the affection turning into emotional suffocation. Learn to recognize genuine kindness from calculated control, because by the time you realize it's manipulation, it's often too late. Values, independence, and shared interests are also critical for a strong relationship. Observe how they handle their life and career. For instance, Sophia was a UI/UX designer working in decentralized applications, a project that reflects ambition, focus, and forward thinking. Her balance between fitness, work, learning, and personal growth showed that she had planned her life carefully, exactly like I had worked on myself. True compatibility lies in this shared foundation. Don't forget to evaluate their social circle. You are the average of the people you will spend the most time with, and the same is true for your partner. By spending time with Sophia's friends at gatherings, I felt comfortable, not just with her, but with the people she trusted and valued. If you find yourself disconnected from your partner's close circle, consider it a red flag. I also want to highlight something crucial about plans and consistency. Don't simply ask your partner what are your dreams, instead observe them. Are they consistent in working toward their goals, or do they simply talk about ideas without action? Plans come from persistence, motivation, and real effort, not occasional steps or empty ambitions. Finally, remember this. A relationship isn't about perfection, it's about balance. True strength in a person lies in their ability to be honest and restrained, even when they have the power to manipulate or deceive. Choose someone who values integrity, independence, and growth as much as you do. So these are the signs and the strategies to identify the right partner. Pay attention, observe deeply, and make decisions based on real compatibility, not fleeting attraction. If you've found someone who matches these criteria, odds are you've found someone special. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe if this helped you understand relationships better. See you in the next video.